Today is Thursday, December 12th, 2024. This is Quick Start from CBN News. I'm Dan Andros. Concern grows over mysterious drones flying over New Jersey. We'll have that top story and more on today's podcast, where we bring you news from a Christian perspective. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating. You can email us as well, quickstartpodcast@cbn.org. Give you a second to write it down. quickstartpodcast@cbn.org. Got it? Good. Send us an email. Say hello. We'd love to hear from you. All right, joining me now to get through the news of the cray as we do each and every weekday bright and early. CBN's Billy Hallowell and Trey Goins-Phillips. Gentlemen, as always, much to do on this Friday junior edition of the Quick Start podcast. On the focus story, vandals have reportedly destroyed yet another satanic display.
Yeah, this is another thing that's happening just in time for Christmas. Another satanic Christmas display has been knocked down, so we'll get into the details of what happened and what police are going to be doing next.
I don't know. It's kind of a sign of the times, guys, that people are more concerned about the display getting knocked down than them being put up in the first place. But I digress. On the main thing, after the October 7th attacks, a church in Nazareth, the name sounds familiar, of course, this time of year, the boyhood home of Jesus, is uniting Arabs, Muslims, Christians, and Jews. Cool story. CBN's Wendy Griffith has the details on that on the main thing. All right, make sure you subscribe to all of our CBN News podcasts, DC Debrief with John Stolnis, Newsmakers with Billy, and also we have a 4-part series running right now, Jesus and the Prophecies of Christmas. You'll definitely want to check that out. We'll put the link in the description. It's episode 2 is coming up this weekend. We'll play it on this feed as well, so you'll be able to check that out right here on this feed on Saturday. All right, we're going to head now to the news in 90 seconds. And the Pentagon denies claims that drones over New Jersey are from Iran or any foreign adversary. Rumors and theories have been swirling after the drones have been spotted flying nightly over New Jersey. And these are like big drones too. They're not just like those little personal drones. These are like massive drones. And it sparked a lot of speculation and concern. Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Singh stated there's no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States, as some have speculated, and there's no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States. Republican New Jersey Representative Jeff Van Drew, though, he alleged that it is Iran who launched a mothership and deployed drones off the East Coast. He insisted these drones should be shot down and claimed the military's on high alert. And Singh rejected Van Drew's claim, saying there's not any truth in that. And so far, no alternate explanation for the drone's origin was provided by the government, leaving this whole thing unresolved. And FBI Director Christopher Wray announced his resignation this week, effective in January. He's 57 years old. He informed FBI employees during a town hall. And his resignation follows pressure from GOP senators and Donald Trump, who expressed a loss of confidence in his leadership. Those are just some of today's top headlines. You can check out more stories over at cbnnews.com. Guys, let's talk about the drones. Okay, we're coming off the heels. This is the Biden administration who let a giant Greyhound bus-sized spy balloon float slowly all the way across the United States before finally doing something. And now we're to believe that there's just nothing going on here. It's hard to, we don't know what's going on, but it's hard to believe that they have, well, if they say they have no idea and they say they know that there's nothing there, it's kind of hard to believe that.
Well, yeah, they need to really give us an answer. I think they owe the American public an answer, and local officials do, federal officials do. You can't just pretend it's not happening. People are upset about it. They want to know what it is. There's giant SUVs floating around with lights on. It's terrifying, and I think people deserve to know. It's a little strange to me. Either they have no idea what it is, right? Or they know what it is and they're concealing it. Both options are not great.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of it is a lack of trust in our institutions, right? And they're not doing a really good job of kind of instilling any sort of trust in them by going back and forth, not being willing to say anything, trying to sweep things under the rug. I think they're continually, our institutions, shooting themselves in the foot. And I think not addressing this issue, I think, is concerning, right? I think people just want an answer. Whether you know exactly what it is or not, whatever. But at
Yeah.
least acknowledge and talk about the fact that there is a concern there.
Yeah. As you said, Billy, I mean, for those who don't know, Billy's not joking or exaggerating when he says there's car-sized drones flying over there. That is what the news reports are. I have not seen them. I live in Pennsylvania near New Jersey, but I'm, on the inland side of things, so I've not seen any of these drones yet. But they say in the news reports that they're about the size of a car. I mean, that is not something you're getting at Best Buy. You're not picking up a car-sized drone at Best Buy and then going around and taking landscape view shots of the scenery around your area. That's just not
Why
happening.
do you need a car shaped? Why are there drones that are that large? Unless a person is in them.
Right, a person's in them or explosives, who knows what. But it's clearly you're not getting one of those unless you're, some government agency, military branch, something like that. And maybe, there are military bases around here. Maybe they are testing some things, but it's like, you can't be flying car-sized drones around and not saying anything. And somebody has to know something. And if they don't know anything, that's almost even more concerning than them covering it up. And I don't know. It just seems like this is the worst possible way to say, there's no Iranian mothership. If you know the answer, tell us. But I don't think people have a lot of confidence right now that they do know the origin of what this thing is from. Again, given the fact that we had a giant car-sized spy balloon or Greyhound bus-sized spy balloon floating across America for weeks at a time, and they didn't even, look at that, by the time it got to like North Carolina or something. So yeah, not a lot of confidence right now in the intelligence community. And that's one thing that President-elect Trump has vowed to try to improve on while he's starting his second term here. All right, we are going to head over to the focus story now. And vandals have reportedly destroyed yet another satanic display. So tell me about what's going on here.
Yeah, we say yet another because this happened last year too. It was a big story. And here we are yet again. And in this case, we are talking about Concord, New Hampshire. That is where this has unfolded. The Satanic Temple, that familiar satanic organization that we often are covering because they continue to make headlines. They put a display up, and apparently it went up on Saturday. By Tuesday, it was already destroyed once again, beheaded. It seems like the head was knocked off of it. Other elements around it were shattered. And the organization, they, again, put it on display on Saturday. Tuesday morning, people were cleaning up the pieces, and so it didn't last very long. But before the destruction, there's actually a video you can watch on the Satanic Temple website, or actually it's on their Facebook page, where they unveil and they have this little ceremony and they say, "Hail Satan," before they remove this black covering, and it shows the statue and it's got yellow eyes. It's got a tablet with the Satanic Temple's 7 fundamental tenets on it. Just again, this is what they tend to do. They put these statues up in different places, and like the atheists who do the same thing. And by the way, the Satanic Temple essentially is a group of atheists. They don't believe that Satan literally exists, and they sort of worship him they don't worship him, they herald him based on his literary form. So I think it's important to note that. But just like the atheists, they like to put up these quote unquote religious displays to combat or coincide alongside the nativity at Christmas time. So that's where we are. They put their statue up, lasted 3 days, and was destroyed.
And I know you are very generous in your relaying of their worldview there, Billy. But I would submit as a Christian here that either you're for me or with me or you're against me. And so they're on the other side of the camp. In my opinion, they're all Team Satan, whether they like to admit it or not. That's just me on my soapbox. I'll hop down now. What's the mayor of Concord saying about this?
I want to add one thing and if you're saying hail Satan, whether you say you believe in him or not, if you're saying, and if you're doing anything in Satan's name, you may not realize it, but Satan is running the show. So you could say you're an atheist all day long. So I think it's important that we highlight that as well. So I appreciate that you did that.
Yeah.
Okay. Mayor Byron Champlin, he doesn't condone the fact that this was destroyed. Of course, he said, nobody should be destroying public property, but he said he doesn't believe the display should have been permitted to be placed outside the New Hampshire State House in the first place. He said, "My preference was to deny the permit and accept the risk of the threatened lawsuit." So keep in mind, a lawsuit purportedly was threatened with this. If you don't allow us to have this because you're letting the Christians have their nativity, then we're going to sue. he actually said he wanted to accept the risk of that. He said, I oppose the permit because I believe the request was made not in the interest of promoting religious equity, but in order to drive an anti-religious agenda. Now, this is interesting because the argument is that you have to allow all of these religious symbols, right? Now, if there's a Hindu holiday or some other holiday and it's a legitimate religious holiday, you almost understand why people might argue to have their symbol be represented, right? I think his argument here, and I can't speak for him, but based on what he's saying, is he believes that this is being driven by an anti-religious agenda. And so in recent years, again, we've seen secularists, we've seen Satanists, they've wanted to have their own holiday representation. And a lot of the Christians and others will say, well, look, we feel like this is mocking or poking fun at faith. And I think one example is the Bill of Rights display, right, that the atheists put up every year. And in fact, this display, by the way, there's a Bill of Rights display apparently right near the Satanist, display that got destroyed. And they have, the founding fathers, and instead of Jesus in the manger, you've got the Bill of Rights, right? So, these are things that are playing off of religious sentiment. Atheism, isn't essentially a religion that has symbolism, and yet here they are sort of, mocking the traditional symbols. So, it is interesting to see that. He actually said also, and I think this is important, we have room in our society for atheists and for secularists and for Christians and for flat earthers. That's what our democracy and our First Amendment is about. I just don't like what I view as a pretty cold political calculation on the part of this group. And I'm also very upset with the fact that this whole thing was promoted by somebody who's not even from Concord. So there you have it. That's what the mayor's saying.
So we talked about this. I kind of said it in jest, but half jest. I was kind of serious about it. But I mean, you wonder how does a monument like this get up in the first place? Everyone's, wow, what do they do with this? And they're concerned about that. But I'm concerned about what is driving the rise in satanic monuments.
Well, it's interesting because we've been covering this stuff for a long time. So you got to go back to the Freedom from Religion Foundation. They're the first ones really, and I'm sure there were other groups, but that started to challenge the nativities. And if you can't get a nativity outside of public property, if people are allowing it, then what do? You come up with a symbol and you say, well, we want our symbol represented too. I don't know what's in people's hearts, so I'm speculating here. But the idea is if you cause enough rabble rousing, you could potentially convince towns and cities and localities to say, well, guess what? We're not going to allow any symbols, right? Because if we allow any of them, we're going to have this drama and this chaos. And so I've often wondered if that's the real strategy. Hey, we want to annoy everybody so much that they just stop allowing the nativity too. And if they don't stop, then we're just going to make sure we're there every year. So specifically this case, Democratic State Representative Ellen Reed, she reportedly reached out to the Satanic Temple before the holiday season to encourage them to have a statue there because I guess the existence of religious imagery outside the government building sparked her interest in seeing the Satanic Temple come there. And she said in some interviews, I approached them as a person who cares about equal representation on public grounds for religions. So apparently it was a politician who went to them and said, hey, you should bring your beautiful display here.
Good grief. And, it's just frustrating because it doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel like this is a legitimate belief. And but essentially what you were saying, the way they dance around that and they try to say, well, we're just atheists. We don't believe in Satan. Like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They want to make this point, but it's so clearly not a sincerely held belief. That it's clearly to make a political point, and just on those grounds alone, it just seems like it shouldn't be allowed. It's not like someone from the Muslim faith trying to do something, right? Like that would be a different story because we all understand that there are people who are sincerely Muslims and they follow that religion, right? And so I think those would be different things. It'd be a different conversation. But in this place, at least to me, it just feels disingenuous.
Yeah, I think this is an instance of somebody following like the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're just intending to kind of abuse and maybe even parody the freedoms that we have here in the United States. So, if it was authentic, that'd be one thing. But then, two, I think also in complete honesty, if it was authentic, I think it would still bother me for sure, right? So, I think it's just one of those tricky stories, but it is, I think, above all else, just an obnoxious story that happens once, maybe twice a year, right? We hear these kinds of things cropping up at Christmas time and then at Easter. These are the two times of year when all of these quote unquote Satanists come out and they want to make these displays. And it seems like nothing more than really just bullying the Christians, right? And using free speech, abusing free speech as a way to bully the Christians. So, but I don't know. I think I'm a free speech absolutist. So I guess the best response to bad speech is better speech. So let's
Yeah.
continue to have these arguments. I would rather have these arguments than start restricting people's freedoms.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think that's what the ultimate goal is for somebody like that. Like you said, Billy, we don't know what's in their hearts, but it does seem like they just want the reaction to get it shut down, and then you'd have to shut down all the things. So we'll see what happens, but I appreciate you bringing that one to the podcast today. We're going to head over to the main thing now. And after the October 7th attacks, a church in Nazareth, which is the boyhood home of Jesus, is working to unite Arabs, Muslims, and Christians. Now, they've been doing this for a while. Now, they didn't just start on October 7th, but ever since then, it's obviously taken on a heightened sort of tone. And CBN's Wendy Griffith has this incredible story for today's main thing.
In the Bible, Nazareth is known as the boyhood home of Jesus. Today, it's called the Arab capital of Israel, with a population of 88,000 people, most of them Muslims. For years, a Christian church has been building bridges between the diverse faith and ethnic communities there, such as a food distribution ministry that serves 150 families every month, including Christians, Muslims, Arabs, and Jews. Well, Salim Shalish is pastor of Home of Jesus, the King Church in Nazareth, and joins us now with more. Welcome to the show, Pastor.
Thank you very much. It's an honor and privilege to be with you all.
Well, as an Arab, you grew up hating Israel and hating Jews. Why was that, and what changed your perspective?
When I grew with a Catholic family, and the community around you, all the fake news that you hear, it's come to you with wrong ideas, wrong biblical concept. So I grew with a lot of hatred for Israel and the nation of Israel, until one long night. I can share it because we have short time. God changed all my life and took this hatred, and he replaced love to the Jewish people and to the Arab people instead of, and the Holy Spirit changed all my life, instead hating them, to love them and to show the love of Yeshua to every one of them.
That's such a miracle when that happens. Well, tell us, Pastor, about this food distribution and how it's serving the community and building bridges between the different groups.
Yes, we have our humanitarian aid center in Nazareth, and now this is the biggest humanitarian aid center in Arab churches. And every month we have 156 families coming to take their food packages, Jewish, Arab, Muslims, Christians, Druze, from every place in Israel. We try to bless them, showing the love of Yeshua. Giving the food is the way to say that we can live together in peace.
I love it. Well, food is universal language of love for sure. Pastor, describe the reaction by a Jewish or Muslim person when a Christian shows up to help them. Does it open the door for the gospel?
When we work Arab and Jews together, building his kingdom, and that is the desire of the Lord, when he see unity is his heart. And when we work with, different organizations, and we try to bless the Jews and the Arab, you can see a lot of testimonies. Sometimes you can see tears in their faces. Sometimes they come to hug you, and even the children. Home of Jesus, the King Church, decided to create new generation empty of hatred. We don't want hatred anymore. We want to live together in peace. And living in peace, you need the Prince of Peace, Yeshua, Jesus. And that is what we're trying to do, working together. When you see, in this period that the aid center is very busy to pack for Christmas. We're going to pack 3,000 gifts to 4,000 gifts to distribute all over Israel, not just Nazareth and around, and to bless the Jewish and in Hanukkah, and to bless the Christians and the Muslims, to give them these gifts. And it's included a very simple magnet written in Arabic, Hebrew, and English, written on it that Jesus is the reason for the season, and congrat them, for Christmas.
Well, Pastor, after the October 7th attacks, you feared the bridges that you'd built between Arabs and Jews would be destroyed. Instead, you say you saw God's plan begin to unfold. Tell us about that.
After the 7th of October, I felt all the rockets fall on the bridges that we built between Arab and Jews. It's very hard to rebuild the bridges. You need to destroy it all and to build again, to fix what the devil is trying to do. And we felt that it's spiritual war more than it is a physical one. Understanding the biblical concept of reconciliation, God is bringing, Abraham family back again, Ishmael and Isaac together. And that is the desire of the Lord. And from the 7th of October until today, from 8 o'clock until 5 o'clock, we are working daily to bless evacuated families, to bless, needy people. People don't understand in the world that, a lot of Arab was killed also. And it's not just Jewish, rockets doesn't choose, Jewish and leave Arab. No, it's fall and killing Arab. And by the way, a lot of Arab villages was destroyed from the rockets of Hezbollah. So we are from the 7th of October, Hamas and Hezbollah war is a very bad situation coming, that's destroyed almost all what we built. But now, after 1 year, we feel God is opening more and more doors. He opening not just doors, He opening the heart of the people, Arab and Jews, asking for the peace, asking for the salvation, asking what we can do to live in peace together. And that is our opportunity to reach them and to tell them about the love of Yeshua.
Pastor Salim Shalash, God bless you. Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And please ask everyone to pray for this project in Christmas, because it's most important. Christmas is the valuable time that God gave to us. He gave us the most important gift in our life, Jesus Christ as a Savior. Now we give Jesus to everyone. Need your prayers, because in Nazareth, there are going to be 60,000 visitors, Jews and Arab. It is the harvest. So pray for us.
Oh, wow. We will. We will indeed. God bless you. Thank you so much.
God bless you. Thank you very much. God bless you.
All right, Wendy, thanks for that interview there. Really interesting stuff for sure. And that's going to leave us with time on the podcast today. For one last thing, we're going to take a look at Romans 12:11. This verse is in a part of series of verses on the marks of a true Christian. And 12:11 says, "Do not be slothful in zeal, be fervent in spirit, serve the Lord." And, if you're feeling lukewarm, if you're feeling a little bit rote and going through the motions, look on this and ask the Lord and the Spirit to stir a bit of a revival in yourself first.
Yeah, make sure you think about finishing the race well, right? And being fervent continuously and consistent in our faith.
Yeah, it's just a good reminder, too, to be active in our faith, right? Especially at this time of year, we're all thinking about giving. So when we give, we're giving to the Lord.
All right, good spot to leave it here on this Friday Junior edition of the Quick Start Podcast. As always, get on over to cbnnews.com, faithwire.com for more news from a Christian perspective. Don't forget, coming up this Saturday at episode 2 of Jesus and the Prophecies, we'll be running that on this feed, but you can go and follow that feed, the individual feed for that podcast as well. All right, Lord willing, that creek don't rise. We shall return tomorrow with more. God bless. Friday's up next.